Hi, my name is Wei Chun, and I'm one of the co-founders of The Woke Salaryman. The Woke Salaryman is a webcomic and blog that talks about personal finance. My job there is that I draw and I sometimes write for The Woke Salaryman. So today I'm not going to be talking about personal finance, although it is something that is related to personal finance. It's something that you will no doubt encounter on your personal finance journey. I want to share my story of envy and jealousy, and hopefully it can help you put envy into perspective along your personal finance journey. So when we started The Woke Salaryman in 2019 as a side hustle, our first viral post was actually a story about how my co-founder Ruiming attained a net worth of $100,000 by the young age of 30. Nowadays, this is commonly shorthanded to 100K by 30. So this was a milestone that he got. So we wrote about it, how he did it, and then the story got like 6,000 shares in just a few days on Facebook, which was really good at that point of time. So when that story broke, I was actually still knee-deep in debt, and I was working furiously to pay off my college and renovation loan. Basically, my net worth is not 100K at all. It is negative one, right? I think also, like many millennials, I was worried that I would not be able to keep up with my peers, let alone my co-founder, and good friend who was known to be this financially solid and wise person. And naturally, bit by bit, I became jealous of my co-founder and good friend. So as the story blew up and the brand of The Woke Salaryman grew, people that met me and knew me as like the co-founder of Woke Salaryman often thought that I was the one who had attained 100K by 30, and it would be like, oh, you're the guy, you're the one that did 100K by 30. How do you do it? That's amazing. And I have to go, actually that's not me, that's my friend. I'm still in debt actually. Yeah, so my net worth is not even 100K, it's like negative one. Yeah, so very awkward lah. So the envy started to creep in, and it crept up so slowly that I didn't even realize that it was there until much later. To put this into perspective, I want to talk about a metaphor that I encountered that I like. So it's a metaphor about depression. And this metaphor basically describes negative feelings as clouds that would come in and obscure the clear sky behind it. And depression is when these clouds come so thick and so regularly that you don't even see the clear sky anymore, and you consistently don't see it, and you just believe that life now is just cloudy forever. You forget that there's a nice clear sky that will make you feel better behind it, because these clouds are just coming so often, right? And I think it's kind of like that with envy, like when it first comes, it's like little triggers of little ooh, ooh, ooh kind of thing, where it's just little puffs, little clouds that sometimes come in, but you can still see the sky behind it. It just interrupts the sky a little bit. But sometimes, like if you don't realize it, it might really gloom your whole day and cover that whole sky. And these dark clouds will obscure the bigger picture. That bigger picture, that clear sky that basically reminded me that actually financially I'm doing okay for my age. I'm all right. So the objective, tangible reality of my life, my bank account, my financial situation didn't actually change because of envy, of course. But sometimes these envy things, the cloud will come in so heavily and so thickly that it will make my whole day grey. It's just, it covers the whole sky, there's no sunlight, so everything is just grey and no colour, and it makes you very depressed, And I'm sure that even though it didn't really directly affect my situation, I'm sure if more and more days became like this, right, it would just become my reality. I'll become a very depressed and envious person all along the way. And then it will change the way I react to the situation, make me just sad all the time, So that might also sabotage myself and my actual situation. And I think what hurt me even more was also like my identity, my supposed identity as the woke salaryman, Being one of the co-founders of this like financial side thing, and for me to not even attain this milestone that we were known for and associated with, just made me feel like an imposter. So now, I realize in hindsight, it's actually very silly, and these insecurities are just very stupid and I've sort of broken down to 3 reasons. So number 1, 100K by 30 actually is a very hard goal. It's an unreasonable one, in fact. Behind the glamour of the headline and behind such an achievement, actually is a whole bunch of suck. It's a lot of sacrifice that is just not nice. And my co-founder, Ruiming, and I saw it firsthand because he's actually a very close friend of mine, other than just the fact that we work together. I saw him sacrifice so much in his 20s to get this milestone, and it's definitely not for everybody. A lot of people sort of say that we try to espouse this 100K by 30 and encourage a lot of people to do it. But actually, we are just saying the story of how my co-founder did it. And I want to make it clear that 100K by 30 is an extreme benchmark, and not achieving it doesn't mean you failed at all. We suggest it only if you want to achieve extreme financial outcomes like FIRE, for example, financial independence, retire early, FIRE, FIRE. So it's extreme, right? And for me to expect myself to do that and for me to not have done that and then make myself feel jealous is actually very stupid and silly. So that's number one. Number two, why my insecurities were silly is also because context matters and everybody has different start points in life. So there are many rich people around me, right? People richer than Ruiming even. Why does Ruiming's success in particular make me feel so jealous? I think it's because we were classmates. We were around the same age, and also because he's a close friend of mine. So I see him vividly, and it's easier to compare. He's like my classmate, same age, everything. So I felt like it was my peer. Like, it felt to me a bit weird. It felt to me like we exited our mother's womb at the same time. So in my mind, it's like we started off at the same starting line. But this is silly and it's not true. Even though we were the same age and we went to the same poly, take the same course, right? We started off at different points and we took different routes to even get to that same point that we met. I also had to, upon graduation, work off a $25,000 uni loan while Ruiming began his financial and career journey debt-free. So even if I stretch it to assume that, okay, same starting point, because your birth year is the same, our financial and graduation and career start point was absolutely different. So very silly to even compare and be jealous. It's not a fair comparison, right? So that's reason number two. And finally, reason number three. We talked about start point, right? This is about end point. Everybody's end point and everybody's life goals are all different. So Ruiming worked his butt off because he subscribed to the FIRE movement. Me, on the other hand, actually, I'm not too concerned about the idea of retiring early. I mean, I care about my finances and I want to be positive, net positive, right? It would be nice if I could retire early, but I'm not that bothered about it. It's not that important to me. If I can attain it, good lah, but I'll just use that freedom to work on something that I enjoy. I won't stop working, So I'm okay actually with the idea for working for the rest of my life. It's just I want to maintain a good positive amount so that I have enough resources to choose what I want to work on. So really, there's no need for me to feel inadequate for not doing what Ruiming is doing. Because actually, it wasn't even a goal I had in mind. I think maybe it's an Instagram thing when you makes it very vivid to see all your friends doing well, and then it's very easy to compare. That's one of the drawbacks I think about social media. So having thought about all these three reasons, I've slowly come to accept that actually envy is not something that can be avoided. It just comes and it just happens. And sometimes it's helpful because it forces you to sort of zoom out and look at where you are in relation to everybody else who's comparable to you. It can push you to want to catch up. But on the flip side, on the negative side, it can also be very paralyzing, and it makes you sometimes take for granted the good things that you have because you're so concerned with what you don't have. And I think the important thing is to recognize envy for what it is when it comes, but to consciously not let it get out of hand. And that's something you gotta watch, and that's something that only you can deal with. I've watched these envy clouds long enough by now to know that I think envy just hits everybody, regardless how rich you are, how well you are doing, how well everybody thinks you're doing, how many Instagram followers you have. I don't care who, right? And I think part of being better able to deal with envy is to know that it will come. So you know to look out for it when it comes, and you know how to recognize it, and you know how to deal with it. Sometimes I just walk around the day and I just feel crappy and I don't know why. And then I zoom out, I look up into the sky and I'm jealous. That's why I feel like shit today. Having dealt with these clouds for so long now, I sort of have a step-by-step process that I go through whenever these clouds come, and I'd like to share that with you. Number one, I'll ask myself, is this person that I'm jealous of, is their journey similar to one that I want to embark on? If it's not even a journey that I care about, if what they're attaining is not something that I even want, no point being jealous, be happy for their success, move on. If it is something that you're interested in, move on to step two. You ask yourself, what can you learn from this person's quest to help you on your own quest? If there's nothing you can learn or apply, no point being jealous. Move on. So you must do the work, lah, right? You must really go and look and then note down things that this person is doing that can help you in your quest. But if you look at it and there's nothing to consider and to add to your own quest, then no point thinking about it. Leave it, right? Move on. All other considerations are not worthwhile to think about or indulging, and dwelling on it for this person's success making you feel shitty might even pull you back and paralyze you. Because I think ultimately, life is a race, but it's not a race with other people, it's a race with yourself. It's all internal, actually. So the point I think to take away is that you should just focus on being better than you were yesterday. That's all that matters. So that's what I have to say about envy. I hope that this was helpful to some of you that face these things. This is not the usual kind of video that we do, so let me know what y'all think about it and whether we should make more of these things where we take old stories that we had written about our personal experiences and then we translate it into video. If this is the last video we ever do because I go downstairs and I get into some accident, thank you very much for supporting us and watching this video. I hope that it was useful, and I'll see you guys on the comic side because the video no more idea, right? But I mean, if we still do some more, I hope you all can support us. So let me know in the comments what y'all think. Okay, bye-bye. I'm just trying to drag it out because usually people say our ending is very abrupt, but okay lah, not so abrupt, right? Okay, say already. Okay, bye-bye, end.